the features and limitations of clustering and mirroring in mind while we talk about always-on availability groups. So this diagram here is a possible configuration of always-on. I have a couple of servers that are in the same data center. I have another server that's in a data center, a different data center, but not too far away. And finally, I have a server that's across the country. This is my DR site. With always on, it works very similarly to mirroring. Transactions are automatically replayed or run on secondary copies of the database. But remember, with mirroring, I could only create one copy, one mirror. With always-on availability groups, let me just call it AG. With AG, I can set up up to five databases total. One primary database and up to 4 secondary copies. So now that we have more than one mirror, we're able to configure each one of those secondaries differently. So I can have HA and DR. I can have in the same data center two servers where the databases fail back and forth if needed. I can have another one that's also somewhat close by where I can have, similar to that high safety without a witness, I can have this other server, the databases keep up to date, but not an automatic failover, a manual failover if needed. And then I can also, in a DR site, I can have this particular server keep up the best it can. So on these other two, whoops, I don't want that. On these, oops, wrong thing here. So for these two servers in blue here, I can configure those servers so that the transactions have to commit there before they commit on the primary copy. On my server on the West Coast, I can set that one up to just keep up the best it can. Okay? So it's very similar to database mirroring. However, we can configure multiple copies instead of just one. Another really great thing about it is that, notice the word groups in the name. Instead of configuring each database individually, I can define groups of databases that need to stay together and fail over together. So here's some kind of a summary of the cool things about AG. I can have multiple databases per group, up to 5 replicas. That means 1 primary and 4 secondaries. Each node can be configured separately. I also can use a virtual name, just like in clustering, and this is called a listener. And this listener is always associated to the primary node, the node where the primary database is running. I can have automatic failover. Another thing I didn't mention is that I can offload reporting or any kind of querying to those read-only secondaries if I wish. Notice that I did not have a witness server in my diagram. That's because AG is built on top of Windows clustering. Not SQL Server clustering, but Windows clustering. So I take advantage of Windows clustering that's been around for probably a decade or more, probably so, because I remember clustering SQL 2000s over 10 years ago. But Windows clustering is a very mature technology. Let's take advantage of that instead of doing something special with this witness and coming up with something that I guess that the SQL, I don't know who came up with it, but instead of kind of a roll your own solution there, let's take advantage of the tools that we have. So that's it for the slides. I'm going to jump right into demos, and we'll take a look at AG. What I have is I've got a little domain running on my laptop here in virtual machines, and I have a Windows cluster. Let me show you Cluster Manager so we can see how that looks. I have a Windows cluster called AlwaysOn CLST. On top of that, I have one application running called AG. So this is my actual hang on just a minute.
Not running a grinder.
Sorry about that. Someone just walked into the room. Okay, where was I? Okay, so this is not a clustered. This is not clustered SQL Server. This is just this resource called AG1, and I also have my listener. That is the name that is associated with my availability group. And I have my 3 nodes. I don't have shared storage. This is a way you can save some money. If you want to get the benefits of technology similar to clustering and you don't want to buy a SAN, here you go. This does not require a SAN. Well, that's how it looks in the Windows clustering. Not a lot there. Just wanted to show you that. And this is how it looks in SQL Server. I have my 3 nodes, AlwaysOn 1, 2, and 3. And I have 3 databases that are